Hey everyone, this time we're going to be looking at Sega Arcade Classics Volume 1. This is another hardcore gaming book, and I'm really looking forward to this because I really enjoyed the Sega Genesis, and a lot of the games that were sort of the early launch titles for it, their franchises are covered in this. So the first series that we look at is Space Harrier. I never got to play this in the arcade, which is kind of going to be another running theme. But I did play it on the Sega Master System. I didn't get to play the 3D port for it or the 32X version, but you can see here it's got a lot of different screenshots because this was ported to pretty much everything. I didn't know it was on the Famicom though. That's kind of interesting to me. It still holds up pretty well. It's just one of those on-the-rail shooters. I don't really like this style of game very much, but it is a lot of fun to play. And Space Harrier 2 was a launch title for the Sega Genesis. Next we go into Outrun. Outrun is pretty much just a pretty standard, racing game for the arcades. You get a nice view from behind your car, and this isn't a game that I played very much. Mostly because I'm not a huge fan of racing games. For whatever reason, I just don't like them very much. One thing I didn't know was that there's a 3D version of Outrun for the Sega Master System. I have absolutely no idea why they did that. I'm assuming it was probably similar to like the 3D effect that they had in, what was the game? Rad Racer for Nintendo. Just kind of a weird one for me. I'm not really sure why that title was included. The next one we go into is Altered Beast. This was actually the pack-in game for the Sega Genesis and also a launch title as well. And there is a version on the Sega Master System. I haven't played the Sega Master System version, mostly because I have the Sega Genesis version, so I don't really know why I would want to go back to the other one. It is kind of cool, with the other games, to see the different screenshots and you can kind of compare them. And again, I never really knew that Sega was porting their games to the Famicom, but I guess it does kind of make sense. This is not a very long series. It's really short, and it's kind of nice to see just the 3 games here. But I do wish that they had gone into, they would bring back Altered Beast, because I feel like they could. Next we go into Golden Axe. This is a game that I really enjoy, mostly because it's a beat 'em up that's not like your typical one where you're just sort of wandering down the street beating up random people. It's a really cool thing. And this is one of those series that Sega did take a few chances with. We did get Golden Axe 1 through 3, even though the third one wasn't released here in the US until much later. But we did get Golden Axe Warrior, and there's also another one in here as well, Axe Battler. And they're both a little bit different. I never really heard of Axe Battler before, but I kind of want to try to see if I can find that and play it. Golden Axe Warrior was more of it's similar to it's similar to a Legend of Zelda game, my gosh. Sorry about that. And then you got Golden Axe Duel, which was a fighting game that I didn't know existed. It's kind of fun when you find out about these random games, especially when they're all in a nice easy spot for you to look up. The next one we're going to look at is Fantasy Zone. This is a really cool shooter. I don't know if it's the first cute 'em up, but it's one of the early ones. It's got a really awesome art style and a nice little free-range shooter style where you can just pretty much go anywhere you want and do almost anything. It plays a little bit like Defender, but you don't have to try to collect a bunch of random guys. It's just a really nice little game. We did get a Sega Genesis port for the Sega Genesis Mini. It's kind of a shame that we didn't get this here in the US, because I think it would have been nice. There were a lot of shooters on the Genesis already, but I think this one would have fit in really well. The last game we're going to look at is Wonder Boy. This is a really fun game, and just a confusing series. It's almost like the series had a bit of an identity crisis, especially after Hudson Soft took the rights for the source code of the game, but Sega got to keep the name and also the title as well. So you have Wonder Boy, which is a side-scroller that's basically Adventure Island, but with different graphics, and then it slowly morphs into like a side-scrolling RPG. It's a really fun game and a really interesting series. And there is a remake, or at least a continuation of this on the Switch, which is a really cool thing as well. I haven't gotten a chance to play the Switch version, but I'm betting they did a really good job with it. And now we get into some of the interviews from the people behind the game, which this is always fun when they get included in here, and pretty much in any book as well. I love it when we get to read the interviews to kind of find out some of the things about the game, sort of pick the developers' brains. It's a really fun thing. So that's going to wrap it up, guys. The rest of the book, there's probably about another 30 pages or so, and those are mostly single games where they weren't really part of a series, or they just, for whatever reason, Sega didn't decide to make more of those games. There are a few other things in there which are kind of cool, and if you want, I would definitely recommend getting this in order to kind of read through a few of the last ones. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this, and have a great day.